let's talk about diarrhea, because so many people are suffering from it when transitioning to a carnivore diet. And for some, diarrhea continues past the transition period. Welcome back to my channel. Going carnivore, there is a range of symptoms you may experience, ranging from brain fog, fatigue, flu-like symptoms, the so-called keto flu, constipation, or diarrhea. First things first, if you are 2-3 weeks into transitioning to carnivore diet and you're experiencing diarrhea, don't worry about it. It is just part of the course. Some people will experience constipation, some people will experience diarrhea. It's just the way it is. So don't panic. Continue with your diet, and let's talk about what may happen 6 to 8 weeks out. For the vast majority of people experiencing diarrhea when going carnivore, by week 6, you will see the symptoms going away. In some cases, it can take up to 8 weeks, in some 10 weeks, but by week 10, most of the people won't have any problems with diarrhea anymore. Now, why would somebody just be done with diarrhea at week 6 and somebody at week 10 and somebody doesn't experience diarrhea at all? It all depends on how healthy you were when you went into the carnivore diet. Let's say you are 30 years old. For the last 2 years, you might be having some symptoms that you want to address with the carnivore diet, and you haven't taken any prescription drugs. The transition should be relatively easy, and if you do experience diarrhea, probably by week 6 you will be done. But if you are, say, 45 years old and you have 20 years of a standard American diet on your back, coupled with lots of prescription drugs and painkillers, that transition might take a lot longer, not even 6 weeks, maybe it's 8 or 10, or you may continue past the 10 weeks. If you went into the carnivore diet with the mindset, oh well, I will just not eat any plants and everything else I can eat, then you might be eating lots and lots of proteins without having adequate amount of fat. And according to the clinic in Hungary, Paleomedicina, inadequate consumption of fat and too much of proteins that your body have to deal with is the cause of diarrhea. So if you up your fat consumption and bring down the proteins that you're eating, your diarrhea should naturally resolve. If you are following paleo-ketogenic diet designed by Paleomedicina, you will be expected to hit the ratio of 2:1 fat to proteins by dry matter. If you get there and your ketosis is above 2, most likely you will not experience diarrhea. I personally didn't experience diarrhea going on the carnivore diet, and I went with the paleo-ketogenic program to begin with, although I don't know, it's just so happened that my body just responded this way and I didn't have diarrhea, or is it because I started with the paleo-ketogenic protocol from the get-go? A lot of people that end up going on the carnivore diet come from the ketogenic diet, and let me tell you this, you eat so much dairy when you are coming from the conventional ketogenic diet. It is, for one, delicious, second, animal food, third, easy to make into all kind of different meals. You can make a keto bread with it, you can make cheese sticks for snacking. There's just so much you can do with cheese. So people on the standard ketogenic diet will eat a lot of cheese, and then they remove the plant matter and add some more meat, and then the diarrhea starts like there's no tomorrow. So if you're on the carnivore diet that involves eating lots of dairy, see if you can either reduce it significantly or get rid of it altogether. If you want to be consistent with the paleo-ketogenic diet, you would exclude dairy from the beginning and never bring it back. Let's talk about home remedies that were traditionally used to deal with diarrhea. Where I come from, which is southern Poland, we were always using activated charcoal for diarrhea, and the assumption there was that charcoal will bind to toxins or microbes that cause the diarrhea in the first place. Basically, the concept here is that you get diarrhea if you ingested something. There's a microbe that is multiplying like crazy in your gut, so your body is trying to purge it by inflicting diarrhea on you. And typically diarrhea resolves on its own, but if it doesn't, then you do charcoal to help your body to bind to those microbes, change the pH of your gut, change the gut microbiota, and then that usually aids your body in finishing the microbes off, and then everything normalizes. This can be true with a carnivore diet as well. If your body has hard time changing its gut microbiome, and there's a certain groups of microbes that just don't want to die, and the more proteins you eat and fat you eat, they just do well, but your body wants to get rid of them, then use charcoal and see if this works for you. I'm not so sure this is popular here in the United States, at least not in this frame where you can go to the health food store and get charcoal pills. If you go in Poland and ask, even in the pharmacy for charcoal pills, they will just give it to you and they'll know right away we are talking about diarrhea. But I know people here use burnt toast to deal with diarrhea, which is basically the same premise. You want that carbon, you want to ingest it so that it can bind to those microbes or toxins that cause the diarrhea. So see if you can get good quality of charcoal and use it for a few days. But if you see improvement, you take away charcoal and diarrhea comes back, then there is more work that you have to do. And some people just need a little bit more sweetness in their life. So if you are 8, 10, 12 months into the carnivore diet, doing it absolutely perfectly, meat, the best quality you can get, fat, salt and water, and you are still experiencing symptoms of diarrhea, it is time to change your strategy. You will probably need to bring back some carbohydrates. If you care to be 100% on the carnivore diet, then start with honey, preferably locally sourced, preferably raw. And you can take about a teaspoon after main meals and then see what happens. You can also make it into a drink. My favorite one is to mix electrolytes with a tablespoon of honey, and I drink that in the lukewarm water. It is absolutely delicious and satisfying. That might just do the trick, but if it doesn't, keep watching. So you have tried everything, you did the carnivore diet perfectly, and 1 year later you're still dealing with diarrhea. You probably should introduce some fruit back to your diet. Not a lot of it. Yes, I know, by eating fruit you will not be 100% carnivore, but if you are still dealing with diarrhea, what do you got to lose? So start introducing some fruit back to your diet. The easy ones to start with is an apple or a pear, but be sure you peel the skin. Other good group of fruit is all kind of berries, but because they are so sprayed, be sure to get them organic, and probably it is best to consume them in season, especially if you are in the northern hemisphere. If you are in the northern hemisphere, definitely avoid tropical fruits, especially those from the family of melons. Even Ayurveda goes to a great extent to tell you to eat melons rarely and only on an empty stomach, and don't follow it up with any other food. So stay away from the tropical fruits just to be on the safe side, at least in the beginning. If you are on the budget and buying of all your fruit organic isn't viable, then use the environmental working group site, and they have a list of Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. Dirty Dozen is a list of plants and fruit that you definitely shouldn't be buying conventional. You should always go for the organic version of them. And then Clean 15 is a list of fruits and vegetables that it doesn't really matter whether you buy it organic or not, because they aren't sprayed much anyway if raised conventionally. So Google it. I will also link it in the description below. It is a really good resource. I personally don't know anybody that wasn't able to resolve their diarrhea with the fruit. Past this point, I don't know of such person. But in case you exist out there, you've tried everything we discussed today and you still have diarrhea, you might have to bite the bullet and see your doctor. Perhaps by going carnivore and dealing with diarrhea for all these months, maybe you uncovered some underlying health condition that has to be tested for and properly diagnosed. So if all else failed, including adding fruit back to your diet, you might have to visit the doctor. Alright, so this will do it for this week's video. Let me tell you this, diarrhea is a very popular topic in the carnivore community, very frequently discussed. So if you know of somebody that needs some tips and advice about diarrhea, share this video with them. I apologize to those of you that watch my videos over lunch break, especially to Norm, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.